The machine that is Earth is under attack by a vengeful celestial god, and the only person who can save it is someone who once tried to destroy it themselves. What'll happen next? Let's hop into the pages of Axe Death to Mutants issue number 3 and find out what happens next, shall we? Wow, so despite basically just being the next installment of Kieran Gillen's own standalone Eternal series, this particular set of tie-ins didn't really have a through line, did it? As we join the book proper, we are once again reintroduced to the machine that is Earth, which I must say is probably one of Kieran Gillen's greatest invention during his time on the Eternals, giving the planet such personality, and letting them basically be the omnipotent, if sometimes unreliable, narrator of the proceedings. Hell, the Earth even breaks the fourth wall by admitting that some people think it's an unreliable narrator. It's also probably important to note that this third and final issue of this tie-in series actually takes place before what was going on in Judgment Day issue number 5 and those other standalone tie-ins from this week. We see Star Fox in his role as the brand new Eternal Prime, wondering aloud to himself and the others why they just don't allow all the humans of Earth into the Unimind. After all, there's only so many Eternals, but together they're so incredibly powerful. If humankind was allowed in, they could probably wipe the progenitor off the face of the Earth. Unfortunately, as Zurus tells him, that's impossible. Not just figuratively impossible, but literally impossible too, as it would go against the Eternal principles. They're actively not allowed on a mental and genetic level to attack the Celestial God. Oh sure, Jean Grey and some of the other powerful mutant psychics have allowed Icarus and the others to join the fight, but what Star Fox is asking for would take way more mental muscle than they have right now, though admittedly it's a much cooler plan than what they're actually doing in Judgment Day, and that is, hey, let's just try and get inside the Celestial and blow it up. Icarus actually ends up falling in the battle against the progenitor, but we know full well he doesn't stay dead, because like all Eternals, he's just quickly rebirthed. Though, as the narration from the machine that is Earth tells us, Icarus will not be returning anytime soon after this, because the Celestial God is now boring down into the Earth's crust and trying to take control of the Earth itself so that it will turn on the rest of humanity and everyone else living on it. Here's the thing though, as we've set up time and time again, the machine that is Earth is a character. It has a personality, it thinks and feels, it has its own wants and needs, and right now what the machine that is Earth wants to do is defend everyone living on it from the progenitor. Yeah, that's right, Earth turns against the Celestial, even though that's supposed to break one of the 3 tenets. The idea being that if the Eternals are genetically predisposed to defending the Celestials and defending the machine that is Earth, clearly in defending Earth from a Celestial, they're not actually breaking the rules. Planet Earth has clearly gone out on a great limb here to try and offer the heroes of Earth some time, and they definitely want to reward this good behavior. It's because of that Nightcrawler and the others plan yet another secret mission that will be running concurrently to the big last-ditch effort to defeat the Celestial in the main Judgment Day storyline. The hope is if they can send someone particularly smart and technically minded deep down into the machine that is Earth, they can restart it, and in doing so, stop the progenitor from ending the world. And naturally, the most technically minded of all of them is Faustus. How fitting is it that Faustus now has to save the machine that is Earth, when back in the first volume of the Kieran Gillen New Eternal series, he tried to destroy the machine that was Earth to try and free Eternal kind from endless conflict in their never-ending, torturous cycle of death and rebirth. But believe it or not, that's not the only story going on in the comic. You see, before the Eternals' resurrection protocols were destroyed, the Hex, particularly that really big one, Mimitar, managed to escape half-formed. It's dying now, and all it wants to do with the last few minutes of life it has is talk poetry. Particularly with Exodus, you'll remember in the main series these two had actually killed each other and then both ended up resurrected around the same time. You see, the Hex had touched the mind of the mutant known as Dupali, and because of that, the Hex now knows that he was an actual knight from the 18th century, and because of that, probably has a working knowledge of 18th century poetry. Man, I was really not expecting this Hex Exodus story to end up here, and yet here we are. Now back over with Faustus, he makes his way deep into the Earth's core. Thankfully, that's easy to do because there's a massive hole in Lumeria, the Deviants' territory, after the last time a Celestial tried to mess Earth up. Crow, the leader of the Deviants, is actually there to see Faustus off. It seems that he's already taken his people deep inside their own vaults in hopes that they will be able to survive Judgment Day. But because he's an irascible rascal, Crow couldn't miss this opportunity to give Faustus a good old-fashioned I told you so. Oh, what's that? You're scared of celestial judgment and all dying? Yeah, well, guess what? I'm a deviant. I've lived with that literally my entire life. Naturally, there's a bunch of security in between Faustus and the main console for the machine that is Earth, but as we've stated before, the machine is alive and it's on the good guy's side, so it walks Faustus through all of it. Now, it's right here at the very end things start getting unexpectedly sad. You see, it's not just enough for Faustus to reset the machine that is Earth to make it so that the progenitor can't take control of it. He basically needs to go back to factory reset. Or, in layman's terms, for the heroes to succeed and defeat the progenitor, Earth will need to basically lose all of its personality that it's accrued over its entire existence. It's a risk the machine is willing to take, but one that Faustus ends up feeling absolutely terrible about. In a way, he basically killed the machine that is Earth, as everyone knows it. And as the comic ends, it's been reborn as a colder, more aloof, more robotic life form, probably like it was back when Earth first was created. And so that was Axe Death to Mutants issue number 3, everybody. And honestly, when it comes to talking about these Judgment Day tie-ins, I probably sound like a frickin' broken record at this point, but stop me if you've heard this one before. This issue isn't really necessary to understanding the greater story that is Judgment Day, but if you like interesting character-focused pieces, you'll probably enjoy this one. I will say, though, that you'll probably only enjoy this story if you've been reading everything else that's been happening in Judgment Day, because if not, a lot of this is just going to end up falling flat to you. I appreciate Gillen continuing to grow Faustus as a character. He's essentially come full circle now from where he started at the very beginning of the brand new Eternals run, but if you weren't reading that book, then I know you're not going to appreciate it the way I did. Seeing the Hex and Exodus meet up once again, not as enemies, but as weird friends here over the end of the world, was super unexpected and the sort of fun, interesting character beat that I'm probably going to remember way after I've forgotten all these other rather unsubstantial tie-in stories. And you know what? Credit where credit is due. I was actually genuinely sad when the machine that is Earth got restarted. I think giving the Earth so much character and personality is one of the best things Gillen ever did. And assuming that Gillen's Eternals book will continue after the events of Judgment Day, I think that's going to be a major shift in the status quo of that series. Overall, I'd give this one a 7.5 out of 10. Death to Mutants ended up being a weird kind of tie-in series, but definitely if you were reading the main Gillen Eternals book, check these issues out, because I think they will be important to that series going forward, even if they don't end up being that important to Judgment Day. Hey there everyone, it's your pal Cape Joel again, and if you're seeing my face right now, that means you watched to the end of the video, and I'll always be grateful for that. Retention helps in this crazy YouTube game, and so does becoming a patron. If you head on down to the description, you can find a link to my Patreon page. Recently just redid all the tiers, a lot of cool stuff offering up there, exclusive commentaries, exclusive polls, behind the scenes concept art for Capes and Quest. That's the brand new D&D show I've started soon. Never been a better time to become a patron. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month and help the channel grow and, help me continue to deliver content like what you just saw. So I want to thank you all, and I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.